Hello and welcome to this tutorial on this mug. So we are going to be looking at this designing this mug. So let's have a quick look at what we have. So we have looks like a square top, 100 by 100. We have a square bottom, which is 75 by 75. You can see in this view that these sides are straight, whereas in this view they are curved. So we're going from a square to a square. So we'll use a loft, and then we'll also use some guide curves here. It looks like this is telling us a 55.3 and a 50 will give us our curve right through this center section. So looking at the inside, it looks like we're going from an octagon to a circle. So again, we'll do another loft there. We'll do a lofted cut. And then we have a handle here. Our handle looks like it has a profile, which is showing up here. We're taking a section through there. So our profile, and then it looks like we'll have a path. So we'll use that sweep command. You can see with our description here, we have a sweep and loft example. So let's go ahead and dig in. So this is kind of what we're hopefully going to achieve. So again, from that view, you got that shape, whereas from this front view here, it's straight up and down. So let's get into it. So we're going to, I always want to try and orientate exactly like here. So I'm going to start with my origin in the middle on the bottom surface. So that's a 75 by 75 millimeter rectangle. So I'm going to use a center rectangle. And I'm going to add my dimension of 75. So that's a smart dimension of 75. And because it's equal, I'm going to use the control key to click on both of those and go equal. And we'll finish that sketch. So for a loft, I'm going to need a second plane. So I'm going to go to my features and reference geometry and plane. And then I'm going to select my top plane. And it's already doing an offset. So my offset is going to be this 85. So I'm going to type in 85 here and up. If I wanted it to go down, I can use that flip offset there. So on this sketch, I'm going to do another rectangle. So I'm going to do from the center again, a center rectangle. And I'm going to add my dimension of, that's that 100. So I'm 100 by 100. So again, I hold down the control key and hit the select. So you'll see that these are equal, but I, for some reason, didn't put my center of my rectangle initially on that origin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on that line and I'm going to select midpoint. So now that midpoint is selected, I hold the control key down and I select my origin, and that will put it right there, right in the middle. So if I did my loft now, I wouldn't be able to use my guide curves, so I want to do that. First thing, I'm going to hide that plane so it's a little bit nicer, and I will put my guide curves on that front plane. So the space bar gets me into the orientation window, and I'll go there. So I'm just going to sketch. We'll do that again. I'm going to sketch a line, and then if I touch that endpoint, I get into that arc. So I know it looks like this and this point are pierced, and same for this and this point. We'll pierce those. So now I know my starting and my end point is with those other two sketches. I'll add a 50 dimension, which is right here. And you'll see that actually fully defines. So if I do add that in, I'll make that driven. That's fine, just for reference. And you'll see that's that 55.25, which is probably what that dimension is rounded. So I'm good. Actually, no, I'm not good because I'm going to need two guide curves. So I'm going to edit that sketch. So I'm going to select everything here. I'm going to go mirror my entities. I'll go into my mirror. I'll select my entities, and then I actually need keep a center line first. So I'm going to use my center line. I'm going to draw a center line from my center point, which is that origin. So now I can actually go into my so mirror. I'm going to mirror those two entities, and I'm going to mirror it about. So I could have turned on my main planes and used those as well, but that center line makes it nice and simple. So now I have those two guide planes. So now I will do a swept loft. So when you're doing a loft, you want to make sure you select your profiles. I selected a sweep. I want a loft. You'll select your profiles in the same location so that they're it doesn't twist. So this point, if you select this point, you see it gets twisted, which we do not want. So I will select that sketch 1 at that point. So that's the profiles. My top and my bottom are my profiles. And then for my guide curves, we'll just select the 1. So we want it as an open loop and click the green tick, and you'll see that makes this side look nice, but this other side is not. So I'm still in guide curves, and I'll select that other one. Again, it's an open curve, that's fine. And there we go. So now that gives us that contour like is in the drawing. So the next thing we can do is we can start in on the lofted cut. So I'm going to select that top surface, I'm going to hit the space bar and go normal 2. I will come in here and get an 8-sided shape. So that's the polygon. And I'm going to select my origin and come out. So this line, one of the lines has to either be horizontal or vertical to help with the fully defining. And then I'm going to come over here and you'll see 80 to 80 millimeters from top to bottom. So we select both those lines and type in 80 and we're fully defined because that center point is right on my origin. So the bottom of the mug is 75 from the top. So we will do a reference plane. We'll select that top surface. And if I zoom out a little, you'll see it's that way. So I want to flip it. I'm going to choose 75. And there's my next plane. So the bottom circle is a 50 millimeter. So I'm going to edit sketch. And I'm going to draw a 50 millimeter circle in there like so. So again, with that center on the origin. So now I am not going to do a boss or base. I'm actually going to do a lofted cut. So I will start with selecting the octagon, and then I will select that circle. Again, in a position similar in location to prevent that twist, and that is a straight loft, so no guide curves are required. So I'm gonna hide that other plane as well. So now that shape, so now all I'm going to need is that. So when I think about my path for my sweep here, I actually want to bring it all the way to that center point. So I'm actually going to roll my part back so that all of that cut is done after I complete my sweep. So I am going to do my path on my right plane. So I'm going to select my right plane and do a sketch there. And now I'll put in a center line, and I'm going to draw everything from that. So I'm just going to give it that general shape like so. And if we look at the drawing here, I'm assuming that these are horizontal, and that's a good assumption because we have a dimension there. So we know this is a horizontal line, and each of these points need to be tangent as well. And then I'm going to add that 35 in there to start. I'm going to add this 10 degrees here. So we'll put that over there. So clicking on two lines that are not parallel, we'll produce an angle. And then, so looking at this, the outer So this path is going to be considered the outer edge of our handle because that's what's fully defined here. And then the center point of our circle is going to be 65. So that makes it now a fully defined sketch, which is great. So I'm going to do that. And now I am going to choose my other plane that's through the middle there. And so that's my front plane. And I'm going to create a sketch on that. So I'm going to sketch, I'm going to space bar and go normal 2. So now I'm going to create, so we just drew this outside edge. So when I create my profile, I'm going to make sure that the outside edge in the middle is right on that point. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to over to the side, I'm going to select that slot command and I'll place that slot. So you'll see it's 10 and 3. So we're going to add the 10 and the 3 in there. So everything is good except I need that point there and the center point of the outer edge here. So a couple ways to do that. So I can right click on that and get that midpoint, and then I can select that point. And if I make those coincident, again, the outside now, outside of that profile here will be, so again, I drew this line as my path. So in order to get the handle to be exactly correct, I add that relation to that bottom edge, not to the center of it. Okay, so I have sketches 6 and 7. We'll select them and run that sweep right away. So this here is more robust than ending my sketch just on this edge, because things can get a bit wonky if this isn't a straight surface. Okay, so then you see that this is on that straight edge there. Okay, and then when I pull my loft down, there's no issue whatsoever there. Last thing I need to do is add that 5mm fillet. So I'll come in here, I'll select 5mm. I make sure my full preview is on, and when I select both of those edges, you can quickly add that. Come in here and edit my material. So if we look at my drawing, it's a ceramic. So I can quickly do a search. There's the ceramic porcelain, and we'll click apply. Now we have our material, and that that material has a white color. So if we come over to our appearances here, we can right click and edit that appearance. If we want to make it the actual red, we can select the red, and there we have our red porcelain and our full part like we see. So that is our sweep loft example of our learning to make this